Hi everybody, it's Marcy, and I'm here playing with my craft paper again. My wonderful Dollar Tree craft paper. And today I am going to, first of all, make a coin envelope and show you how I do that. Again, I'm starting with a 5x5 square. And I'm going to use my scoreboard. You don't have to. You can just fold if you want. Okay, so I'm going to score 1/2 inch from my right edge. And then because it's easier for me, I'm going to flip it over. I think I've mentioned it. I have trouble working in this corner. So once we get to about 1.5 inches out, I'm okay. And so I'm going to flip my paper around and I'm going to score 1 inch from that edge. All right. The 1 inch side becomes my top flap. The 1/2 inch score line becomes my bottom flap. Now I'm going to score 1 3/8 inches. So 1 and 1, 2, 3 from the left, and 1 and 1, 2, 3/8 inches from the right. All right, this one's much easier than the rounded flat bag. And the sizes I'm using for these, I actually looked up sizes of these envelopes so that if you are like me and you want to make it from craft paper, you can have the actual size. Of course, you can make them any size you want. Okay, now, again, I'm going to cut just above my 1/2 inch score line over to the intersecting line and in at an angle. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Just above my score line. And in at an angle. And the reason, I don't know that I've explained this, I'm sure you know, but the reason for doing that is so that when you go to fold your bottom up, you don't have bulk there. The paper is not getting in the way. That's the reason for cutting just above the score line. Okay. Now on my top flap, I'm going to do the very same thing. I'm going to cut in just beneath my score line. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go just to the inside of this score line. And I'm just going to cut straight up. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Go beneath my score line. Cut straight across to just inside my score line. And I'm going to cut straight up or as straight as I can. Now that's a preference. You could cut this one at an angle if you would prefer to. That's all preference. Okay, use my bone folder. By doing that, we've got a 1/2 inch overlap to glue. And we can do our bottom. So I'm going to put glue on that outside edge and glue on this outside edge, and I glue both of those edges so that I don't have any loose edges to get in the way of anything when I'm putting stuff in and out of the coin envelope. And then a little bit of glue around the bottom edge. And fold that up. Now for my top flap, I can just fold that down, but I want to, I'm going to use a piece of scrap paper. And the reason I cut my edges more straight is because I want to use my corner rounder to round these corners, and it's easier, the straighter the edge is, the easier the corner rounder works. Okay. And that very simply is the coin envelope. Can't be any simpler than that. And I'm just going to quickly ink around the edges so you can better see what we've got. So there's the coin envelope. There was one thing I meant to do on this and I forgot, but you've got your coin envelope, okay? And that makes it 2 1/4 by 3 1/2, which is the size envelopes. If you go and buy coin envelopes, I think they're called coin envelopes or currency envelopes. But this is the pretty standard size you're going to get. Okay. So the next thing I want to make is a policy envelope. And I had not really heard of one of these until I started junk journaling. As soon as I saw what they were, I knew immediately. This one I actually made the wrong size. But it's a really tall envelope. This one's 3 1/4 inches wide. It's supposed to be 3 3/4 inches wide. I'd made it the wrong size. But you would take your letter size paper and fold it up and slide it in. I worked for a law firm for many, many years, and it used to be, I don't know that they're used as much anymore, but it used to be this type of envelope you would store wills in and stuff. So obviously they can be used for many other things. But so it's similar to, if you do it correctly, it's basically a business size envelope. It just opens at the end instead of having that center flap. Okay, so enough about that. For this, I'm going to need an 8 inches wide by 11 inches tall. And a true policy envelope is 3 3/4 inches wide and 8 7/8 inches tall. Okay, so I'm starting with the long side, and I'm going to score at 2 1/8 inches. So 1, 2, and 1/8. And yes, I always go over my score line twice. I don't know why. I'm also going to go 2 1/8 inches from my left side. Okay, now turn my paper, and I'm going to score at 1 1/2 inches. That becomes my top. And I'm going to score at 5/8 of an inch. And that becomes the bottom of my envelope. Okay. Now, just like with the coin envelope, we're going to basically make it the exact same way. The only real difference is the size. So I'm going to cut across to the intersecting line. Try not to lose my paper. Cut at an angle. Across to my intersecting line and cut at an angle. And same thing at the top. I mean, literally exactly like we did for the coin envelope. Cut over. Just inside. And as straight up as I can. Oh, didn't cut quite far enough over. Okay. Now, for this one, and I meant to do this on the coin envelope, and I forgot. I want to first get my edges creased. Okay. You can see here the top flat goes straight across, and I don't really like these corners. And so, just like I do on the outside flap, I'm going to go in. And of course, if you don't have a corner punch, you could just round your corners. Using your scissors. Okay. But still, I'm actually going to go one step further. I'm pulling my protractor back out. You should be scared. Okay. I'm going to line that up so the very top is at that top edge. And again, this is not necessary. This is just my preference. That corner rounder on the smaller envelope, on the coin envelope, if I'd done that to those edges, that would have been fine on that one. On this one, I want a bit more of a curve there. And part of the reason for that is if you assume you're folding an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper and putting it in this, anything that gets a little bit of the bulk out of the way to help that paper go in helps. Now let me just ink those edges so you can see what I've got. Okay. So now I've got a really nice dipping fold there. Okay. So I'm going to glue the edge and glue this edge. I bet insurance policies used to be stored in envelopes like this too. That's probably where the name came from. Okay. I didn't get that cut real well. That's better. Okay. Grab some more. Scrap. Sometimes my corner rounder doesn't like thinner paper, so I like to put a piece of, either another piece of paper or a piece of cardstock behind it to help encourage it to give me a clean cut. Now my scrap paper is so small it's hard to hold on to it. So there you have it. Now you've got a nice tall policy envelope. My only problem with these policy envelopes is in my journals at 8 7/8 inch, that is, most of my journals are 9 inches tall. So that takes it the full length of the journal. If you wanted to make it a little shorter, then you could still use an 8 by 11 sheet of paper and score 2 1/8 and 2 1/8 here. But then you could, instead of scoring this bottom one at 5/8, if you scored it at 3/4 of an inch and this at 1.5 inches, then your policy envelope would be 8 3/4 inches tall. And if you wanted, say, 8 1/2, which is probably what I would use the most, then you could, let's see, that would make this, we'd need to lose 3/8 of an inch. So instead of 5/8, you could make this an inch, or you could make this a little longer. Instead of an 1.5 inches, you could make it an 1 7/8 inches, I believe. So there are ways you can do exactly, excuse me, exactly the same thing, but make it a little shorter if you want to. But anyway, so that's it for now. There's coin envelope. Where'd my coin envelopes go? I got sacks. Here's a couple of other coin envelopes I made. Two other. Okay, so we've got coin envelopes and policy envelopes. So again, you can see with my $1 Kraft paper, I can get all sorts of different envelopes. And of course, there's a gazillion other things you could make as well. But I love the fact that for $1, I'm sure I don't know how much these are at Hobby Lobby, but, and I know the Paper Studio stuff goes on sale for 50% off, but I still don't think I can beat my price. Now, it does take me some time to make it, but I'm okay with that. It's a good, if I'm making one kind at a time, once I get in the groove, it goes much more quickly. Anyway, so that's it for now. Tomorrow, I think I'm going to be using some manila folders. And in the meantime, please be safe, stay healthy, happy crafting, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.